What's up, everybody? Today we're talking about some of the big changes taking place at Offworld and how it's going to affect Squad. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment down below with your thoughts on all of this, and let's get to it. This all starts with a letter that was posted on October 31st, and it's still available via Steam under Squad if you want to go take a look at it. First of all, we have a note here from Sergeant Ross discussing some of the early days of Offworld, the relationship with the community, and how that has not been the same in more recent times. Sergeant Ross indicates that they want to make this right. They understand the frustration, they want to try to fix it, and work on collaboration. And some of this is adjustments to the leadership. So Sergeant Ross is going to move from executive to help lead a new community development team within Squad, with some changes at the executive producer position and supporting Howitzer and the team to guide Squad's overall development. Additionally, we have a longer letter labeled Message from PMO. This breaks down a few more things, which I think are pretty significant. PMO joined the team a few months back, and they are now the executive producer at Offworld. They referenced the need to shift back towards community-first development. And as part of that shift, they've made some changes on the design leadership side to help move forward with a renewed vision for Squad. Part of that is tied to the new community development team that Sergeant Ross referenced. It appears that the purpose of that group is to listen, engage, and deliver to focus on the things you've been asking for, like long-standing bugs, quality of life improvements, and community wishlist items. They intend to have more communication from themselves and the team to the community, and they'll be putting together a public roadmap so you can see what's being worked on, what's coming next, with the goal of being more transparent, responsive, and more consistent in how they communicate and update the game. Now, attached to this whole note, they also added a player survey where you could give feedback. I think that's now closed and they've been taking in the results. But before we move to the most recent announcement, let's take a look at the vehicle roadmap that they listed then. And this is already underway. Starting with 10.0, which has recently been released, they've started making a pass at vehicles and the physics attached to them. With 10.1, that looks like it's releasing on December 3rd, we're going to get the next layer of adjustments, including a flip pass on all vehicles, along with some updates to tracked vehicles, with more changes expected in January 2026 to continue to refine vehicle play, including more targeted bug fixes. So what all do we gather from that? Well, obviously, there are some significant changes for the team. And I know at the partner meetup, that was kind of being alluded to, that there were changes in terms of how they wanted to operate and work on Squad as an entire team within Offworld. And since this letter, we've had update 10.0. We've had the announcement of Fireteam, which has been met with some mixed reactions. But now we have a video featuring Sergeant Ross, where he's going to talk about several key areas they want to focus on based on the survey that they did that received over 5,000 responses. And the first area they want to work on may be a surprise because it feels like that's not been an area that's been a focus for adjustments, and that is the infantry combat overhaul.
Of it, namely teamwork and engaging combat, was good. We believe that our implementation of it was heavy-handed. We recognize that we did not collaborate with a broader community enough to ensure that we implement it in a balanced way. Over the past year, we made several changes to ICO, but it wasn't enough. In the coming months, we're going to be collaborating with the community to further improve all aspects of ICO.
Now, on one hand, I'm surprised that the infantry combat overhaul was brought up as something they want to focus on, but then again, I'm not surprised because this has been a long conversation since the release of it a couple of years ago. Given that the video is mainly a response, a look at the survey results, it makes sense that the infantry combat overhaul was referenced because it's just been such a large conversation. There's no doubt it had a significant impact on the way the game is played, especially for infantry, which is the majority of what is played within Squad. I would not jump to a conclusion that the infantry combat overhaul is getting removed by any means. I think this is going to be tweaks and continued tuning to address things that the players are concerned about. I think heavy-handed was a good way to describe the implementation. And going back to updates since the infantry combat overhaul release, a lot of it has been dialing back aspects of the infantry combat overhaul. I think there are current players and players that have since left Squad that will be happy or at least interested to see where Offworld ends up in terms of the tuning and adjustments they want to make to that. If this is something that can bring back some players that have since left Squad, or maybe just make some of the folks playing Squad feel a little bit better about infantry play, then I think it might be worth it. Additionally, I think there are still things that I've referenced, especially in recent videos, where I still feel like I'm fighting some mechanics. While many of us have adopted it or adapted to it, we're still in a position where there could be continued polish, tuning, and consistencies made across different weaponry for different factions, along with adjustments to some of the mechanics that may affect infantry play, aiming, and so on.
Second, performance and optimization are going to be a major focus moving forward. That includes bug fixing and overall stability. As mentioned in a recent blog post, we continue to work on vehicle tuning in stages. Moving forward, we're going to be providing a list of priority bugs, as well as continued updates on our progress addressing these issues.
Now, the next thing that Sergeant Ross talks about, of course, is optimization, performance issues, and bug fixes, something that I think we can all agree we need improvements on. So while it seems like we're getting some tuning and adjustments to the vehicle physics as kind of a mix of sort of performance / bug fixes, we're also going to see the muzzle smoke issue fixed. I think that took a little bit longer than many of us would have preferred, but my hope is that the implementation of it can be smoother than maybe some other hotfixes or something that's going to cause issues elsewhere. I think general performance and optimization is just going to take some time and probably something they're going to have to work at and release and implement over multiple updates to just slowly improve things. But when it comes to bugs, I've said this publicly and privately that I do think they need some sort of bug tracker. If they want to focus on community transparency and they do want to prioritize certain things that the communities bring up, then I think it'd be ideal to have a little bit of clarity into what Offworld's focused on and its progress.
Another issue that was clear from the survey is the first-time user experience and the new player onboarding is not where it needs to be. We have left much of that burden on your shoulders, so we're going to be working diligently to improve both of those areas.
I think I talked about this in my squad health video, that advanced players were just kind of worn out from trying to teach all the new players that have come into the game over the last however long. And that continues to be a problem because there's not a good infrastructure of education built into the game. Can something like Squad Fireteam help with that? Or some of the components that are being made for Fireteam, can that be lended over to something with regards to education? Maybe. I think that's a great use of some of the components that have been built for Fireteam. I'm not saying that you should ditch missions and you should just make it all about education, but I think there's components there that can be built out or utilized to help educate players. Give them pieces of things that can help educate before jumping into a 50v50 and just being overwhelmed and confused and then getting yelled at. But ultimately, we need to take some of that pressure off advanced players because sometimes it's just too much. You got to take some of that burden off the player base so that the advanced players or players with more hours aren't always having to fill in the gaps and instead can enjoy the experience.
And finally, we are addressing your desire for new ways to play Squad, not just reskin content, but new systems that keep Squad fresh. Whether that's game modes, features, or tools, we are reevaluating our plans for future content to ensure that we provide you new ways to experience and enjoy Squad.
This is important because this is something we've been talking about for a while, but we still need to see it done. We saw a very odd rework of skirmish mode, which I don't think has helped the game at all, and I'm sure it doesn't get played any more than it did. We've seen territory control get some slight adjustments, which makes it playable, but it's still not really featured a ton. Meanwhile, you still have random advanced and secure getting the workload in servers, but it hasn't seen much of an update in a while. We need things to keep the player base interested and attached to the game that still keeps things a little bit fresh and fun. I still think to some degree just removing some biome restrictions or removing faction alliances would give server owners a little bit more range to play within server voting, which ultimately limits some of the variety because people are going to pick their favorite maps and their favorite factions repetitively. This needs to go beyond just adding factions to the game. It's got to be maps at some point. We need fresh maps. I mean, the last brand new map we had was Sanction Islands. That was February 2024. We've obviously had the Albaza rework, which drastically changes that map, but we just haven't had much that's brand new. With Ukraine, for example, not only do we get a faction, we got some new things implemented, like the precision guided bombs or the new ATGM. It would be cool to see continued updates like that, introducing some small mechanics that may make factions a little bit different from each other, just giving a little more variety. I think there's opportunities here for Offworld to start to make some updates to some of the game modes that are less played, try to get them back into the rotation, but I don't think that's going to fix everything. I think we need to see more diversity in random advanced and secure somehow. Just the most played game mode just needs a little bit of life in it. I think a new game mode would also be a huge win for Offworld, just to try to bring something new to the game that affects everyday play.
Over the next few weeks, we'll be revising our roadmap and doing our best to keep you informed of this renewed focus. So stay tuned.
I think a lot of folks get tired of roadmaps, but also want roadmaps. It's kind of this double-edged sword for a game developer. They can make a roadmap, not stick to it, and then everyone's mad they didn't stick to the roadmap. Whereas if you don't have a roadmap, people want a roadmap, regardless of whether you're going to stick to it. I know that there's been multiple roadmaps for Squad. I mean, we had one not too long ago that seems to be getting changed now. Now, when it comes to a roadmap, I do think it's important right now for Offworld to make a roadmap reflecting some of the changes they're talking about and then start to deliver on that roadmap pretty quickly. I would say my personal experience more recently with Offworld has been really great. The communication, stuff like that, and the information they have offered ahead of updates and all that jazz to help prepare for content or things changing with the game has been very good. Now, I realize that doesn't help the general player base. But the point in bringing that up is that it seems like a renewed effort to try to fix some things that weren't working right in the communication pipeline. And if what I have seen and some of the partners I think have seen is an indication of the direction they want to go and continue, then I have some optimism about the effort here, especially with what Sergeant Ross is talking about. And to regain the larger community trust, it's going to be about creating that roadmap and sticking to the dates that you put on the roadmap, along with the things that you're talking about in the roadmap. That will begin to build trust back. And I think this is an effort to initiate that more publicly. And I know what many of you are thinking. I'll believe it when I see it. And I think a lot of us are in that spot. We will believe it as we see it. But I do think there is a renewed interest in trying to focus more so on what the community needs, wants, what they're focused on, and what they're concerned about than I have seen in the more recent experiences with updates and things like that coming to the game. This is a launching point for a new endeavor by Offworld. And from there, we'll just see where it goes. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Drop your comments down below. What do you think of the video? What do you think of their priorities? Let me know your thoughts. Of course, hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and I'll catch you next time.
When you double cap, doesn't give you anything wrong?
It only gives you. They had full. I didn't even know.